So let's get into it.
The monologue.
A couple days ago, it was on Monday, we had on the show State Representative Jim Walsh. He's got a bill that, unfortunately, Democrats are standing in the way of. A bill that says there just needs to be a little bit of extra vetting by the state before we return a kid who's currently in foster care back to their birth parents. After all, there's a reason they're in foster care. We should be going out of our way to make extra sure that there is no risk. That bill is getting pushback from the state and from Democrats. Consider this. We just found out that a 3-year-old boy was found dead inside of his mother's Tacoma apartment. This mother was under supervision by Child Protective Services because that kid had previously been in foster care from the time he was 10 months old until 6 months before his death. So this happened over the weekend. Someone called 911, a friend of this mother, called 911 to say the 3-year-old boy was unresponsive. The mom is 25-year-old Ivy Marie Lewis. So officers rushed to get there. The apartment has the heater on so high when they arrived that they could barely breathe. They find this 3-year-old kid on the bed, face discolored, bruised, cut up, burn marks all across his face, this according to the court documents. His 1-year-old sibling sitting next to this lifeless body. Officers did their best to resuscitate this kid. They tried CPR, but they couldn't. Now, the mother claimed that she found her son next to the heater. She carried him to the bedroom just before the cops were able to arrive. Police didn't seem to buy that because they looked at this kid. They found scabs on his stomach, which indicated he had been abused. They saw what they thought was blood around his nose and his mouth. Detectives found wounds on his chest, the sides of his body, his arms, and legs. They found fresh injuries on this kid's back. Now, they said they found several marks, small marks, on the chest, which appeared to be consistent with a taser device. So the allegation is that this mother or someone tased the boy. Now, King 5 says the suspect told police her son ran into the wall multiple times and hit his head. She said he would do this regularly. Oh, yeah. I'm sure that is believable. The friend of the suspect of the mother who called 911, she said during one of the interviews with the cops that she had previously seen the mother hit the boy with an electrical cord. Medical examiner's office does their autopsy and finds out the boy died after suffering blunt force trauma to his head. That was identified as his cause of death, according to King 5. So ask yourself a simple question, and then, more importantly, ask whomever is your representative in Olympia. Ask yourself why they're getting in the way of Jim Walsh's bill. When we have stories like this, the question becomes, did we do everything humanly possible to ensure that this kid was going back to a home that would not result in any harm? Not even death, but harm. Did we do everything possible? And maybe we look at this story and they look into it and they say, we did. We did. Child Protective Services did everything they possibly could, they reasonably could, and this is just an unfortunate tragedy. I don't know the answer. But I do know that many times, and with all due respect to the folks who work in a bureaucracy, a lot of times they're phoning it in. A lot of times they're overwhelmed and don't get to do everything that they need to do. And then something bad happens. Maybe not as dramatic as this, But when we're talking about children, when we're talking about children who were previously removed from a household, what could possibly be wrong with going through just a few extra steps to ensure their safety and well-being? You don't want the extra work? Then get out of this industry. You're doing this job presumably because you care about these kids and you want to make sure that they're safe. But you don't want the extra work? Okay. Go do something else. Go be a teacher. You can get summers off. Don't treat this job like it's a burden, when this is the exact kind of job in the exact, I call it an industry, but agency, I guess, that you would want people who are deeply committed and will go above and beyond to ensure that these kids are safe. And I'm willing to bet the vast majority of them are already doing extra work. Why would you get in the way of pushing some of the ones who aren't necessarily doing that? Ask yourself why Democrats are saying no, and then ask Democrats themselves why they're saying no.